This is the city of Colombo, Sri Lanka's gateway to the world. Colombo is a thoroughly westernized city, just like any big city in the east. It possesses one of the safest harbors in South Asia. It is located in the Indian Ocean, which was a hive of naval activity in the old world. Travelers and traders who sailed between the east and the west met in Sri Lanka. The many names by which the island was known in history speak in silence of its intercultural relations from ancient times. The Arabs called it Serendib, which means Golden Isle. The Greeks and Romans referred to it as Taprobane. To the British, it was Ceylon. The name derived from Sinhala Dweepa, which means the island of the Sinhala people in Sanskrit. Colombo is cosmopolitan, so if one wishes to know the people and its culture, then one must go into the heart of the country. Kandy, the most beautiful city in Sri Lanka, was the hill capital, just 115 kilometers from Colombo. It is surrounded by a ring of hills. The river Mahavali, meaning Great Sands, which is symbolic of our prosperity, flows round the city before going through the wide midlands, irrigating vast areas of paddy fields. Kandy is closely tied with the cultural heritage of the Sri Lankan people. The Sri Dalada Maligava, where the only known tooth relic of the Buddha has been preserved for centuries, is one of the most venerated places of Buddhist worship. Once a year, a cultural pageant takes place for days in the vicinity of the temple. It takes the form of a procession comprising all forms of indigenous arts, drumming, dancing and acrobatics. This is to pay homage to the tooth relic. It is considered one of the most spectacular pageants in the world. Decorated elephants are the highlight of this procession. The train of the pageant showcases the culture of Sri Lanka with an emphasis on dance forms. This dancer's elaborate silver headdress represents in stylized form the rays of the sun. It is one of the 64 ancient items of dress. Some of the others are a sarong of 13 yards of white cloth, a breastplate of fine beads, ear ornaments, bracelets, 6 pairs of armlets, anklets, and a velvet belt. There are 18 classical dances representing birds and animals, and these are called Vannam. The finest examples of Kandyan craftsmanship can still be seen in the form of gold and silver plating, decorative door locks, handles, key plates, and brass works. Among the craftsmen are painters and ivory, wood, and brass carvers. Some of these brass oil lamps measure up to 5 to 6 feet. Items like silver trays, tea sets, and caskets are wrought and ornamented in much the same way as sheetwork in brass, except that they are worked over many, many times. The craftsman's work includes engraving, fine lacquer work, carving in ebony, satin, and sandalwood, Kandyan women demonstrate their skills in weaving baskets, mats, carpets, and hats of beautiful designs. Close to Kandy, Degaldarua is an ancient rock temple that still bears murals which relate Buddhist stories, and like many others, it reflects the Buddhist temple art of the 17th century. The frescoes of Sigiriya are considered unique in style and color. Sigiriya was built by King Kasyapa in the 5th century AD. This great rock fortress is more than 300 meters in height. The ascent to the summit led through the mouth of a crouching lion, the paws of which still remain. Sigiriya is world famous for its frescoes, which have become a big attraction to tourists. The paintings of these beautiful women found on a sheltered ledge on the side of the rock are considered part of the world's art treasures. Sri Lanka's ancient capital, foremost among sacred cities, Anuradhapura, dating back 2,500 years, revives a glorious past. Stupas and other ancient ruins and monuments spreading over vast parkland are of both archaeological and scenic interest. The twin ponds, the ancient bathing pools, believed to have been donated to the Buddhist order. This Buddha statue is the finest of all Buddha statues in Anuradhapura, called Samadhi, a serene statue of the Buddha seated in meditation. Ruwanvelisaya, or the Ruwanveli Stupa, is one of the largest of its kind in the world. It was built in the 2nd century BC by King Dutugamunu. It has now been restored. These devotees circumambulate the stupa 3 times and stop at the altars to make offerings of flowers and to light oil lamps. Moonstone, the traditional sculpted stone at the entrance. The tank and the stupa have given rise to a concept that symbolizes the lifestyle of the Sinhala nation. Anuradhapura is served by 4 ancient reservoirs, the Nuravava, Tisavava, Basavakkulama and Bulankulama. They still continue as sources of water. The Isura temple is one of the beautiful rock temples in Anuradhapura. The Sri Mahabodhi tree is sacred to the Buddhists because the original tree sheltered the Buddha whilst he was seeking enlightenment. The parent tree in India is dead, but a sapling was brought here by the Theri Sangamitta in the 3rd century BC. It is historically documented as the world's oldest tree. In 247 BC, Arahat Mahinda, son of Asoka, the Emperor of India, brought Buddhism to Sri Lanka. Here at Mihintale, he met King Devanampiyatissa and made him the first convert to Buddhism. This stone stairway in solid granite blocks in 4 flights comprising 1,840 steps was constructed by the king from the bottom of the Mihintale hill to the rocky pinnacle at the top, where he first met and talked with the Arahat. Every year on Poson Full Moon Day, thousands of pilgrims converge on Mihintale, or Mahinda's plateau, to celebrate the introduction of Buddhism to Sri Lanka. It was at Mihintale that a firm foundation was laid for that mighty influence which inspired the construction of the vast cities and monuments of yesteryear. Ruins lie scattered everywhere. Here the ruins of a monastery and almshouse. Impressive are the 2 upright stone tablets inscribed with a record of monastery rules and regulations, the finest example of Sinhala inscriptive work. This stone sarcophagus was used as a medicine boat. Among the ruins there are also stone-carved figures of lions, cocks, bulls, elephants and human dwarfs. This is the 11th century AD statue of King Parakramabahu the Great, the most respected king of Sri Lanka. He built the Parakrama Samudra, which was the center of the ancient irrigation system. It constitutes an unique feat in irrigation engineering. The best examples of sculpture at Polonnaruwa are seen at the Galvihara, the rock-hewn temple with beautifully carved images of the Buddha. These were carved out of the living rock during the reign of Parakramabahu the Great about 800 years ago. It was King Parakramabahu the Great who endowed the ancient city with a beautiful audience hall and the magnificent Lanka Tilaka. Polonnaruwa was the capital of Sri Lanka from the 11th to the 13th century AD. The centerpiece of these ruins is the Terrace of the Truth Relic. In the quadrangle here is a group of 12 magnificent buildings, some of them built by King Nissanka at a later date. A sampling of medieval Buddhist art is preserved at the Thibanka Image House. The Vattadage is the finest existing example of the type of ruins found earlier at Anuradhapura and Mihintale. Here are its superbly ornate steps, beautiful moonstones, guardstones and sculptured railings. A stone's throw away from the Dalada Maligava, the most sacred Buddhist temple, one can see a Hindu Kokavil. A Muslim mosque. And a Christian church, which symbolize the country's great religious harmony. Along with the Kandyan dances, one can see Hindu cultural dances too. Paddy fields in Sri Lanka are a most soothing sight. Upcountry paddy cultivation is done on terraces on the sides of hills. In the low country, the structure of paddy fields is different. Although more and more farmers go in for modern methods of cultivation, the traditional methods have not altogether disappeared. Among the Palmyra species found in Sri Lanka, the kittul tree or jaggery palm is second only to the coconut tree in economic uses. It grows abundantly in the Kandyan hills. The sap is collected and used as a drink or used to make treacle or jaggery, a coarse brown sugar. This man is taking his products of kittul, treacle and jaggery to the nearest bazaar. This delicious kittul treacle is available in special containers at wayside shops. From the southern area of the country comes frozen buffalo milk known as curd to combine with the treacle produced in the upcountry to make a delicious dessert. Marriage ceremonies vary in customs more according to geography rather than ethnicity. A Kandyan marriage ceremony with its colorful costumes and ornaments. This is an example of a Hindu marriage ceremony.
சீரடி மூன்றாம் பாதம் சேர்ந்ததோர் புறத்தை காக்க நாலடி அச்சம் நாணம் மடம் எனும் நலத்தை காக்க ஐந்தடி புலன்கள் ஐந்தை அடக்கியே வாழ்வை காக்க.
There are also the more westernized marriage ceremonies. The tea industry makes a vital contribution to the economy of Sri Lanka. Around 24,300 hectares are devoted to tea cultivation, which provides employment to over 1 million people. Over 182 million kilograms are exported annually, which is around 25% of the world import demand. Pilgrims were attracted to the island from earliest times, particularly because of this mountain peak known as Adam's Peak. Buddhists believe that the Buddha left behind his footprint on this peak to denote that this is the most sacred land, the Dhammadvipa, where his teachings would flourish for the next 5,000 years. The Hindus believe that the footprint on the summit is that of their god Shiva. Muslims and Christians believe that this is a peak where Adam placed his foot first on his way to earth from paradise. Today, members of all four religions go on pilgrimage to Sri Pada to worship this sacred footprint. At the foot of Sri Pada lies the city of gems, Ratnapura, 90 kilometers southeast of Colombo. At an auspicious time, gem mining starts after a Bhairava Puja, an offering to a mythical guardian demon who has power over the earth. Another offering is made to the nearest temple, church or mosque, depending on one's religion. Through experience, miners decide whether to dig surface pits or deep pits, and the decision depends on where the gem-bearing gravel is located. Mining activity using traditional methods of tunneling and dredging in riverbeds dates back to ancient times.